I prayed for the Mother Earth. I pray for our people so that they can be strong in their mind and their spirit, for the land to look after the people in a strong way. I ask the water to keep our people pure. And I ask for goodness and kindness, and to build that so our people can heal. And I ask the ancestors to come and join us today as we speak your words and wisdom from the past. I thank you so much for giving us a direction to help our people for the future. And we were asked to put a place together somewhere, like how our people used to live. So I ask you to bless my hand. I ask you to bless my mind and my heart, so that I can stay strong in helping our people.
Hi, my name is Nicole Redvers. I'm a member of the Deninu K'ue First Nation. I'm also Associate Professor and Director of Indigenous Planetary Health at Western University. But here in this camp, I'm one of the co-founders as well as a current board member of the Arctic Indigenous Wellness Foundation. This beautiful camp, it's been a labor of love. We really wanted to ensure that our unhoused relatives that are out on the streets and those that are marginalized within our communities had an opportunity to be able to seek services in a place that is accessible. So right now we're literally downtown in the city of Yellowknife. So we tried to ensure that we could bring the feeling of the land to this space despite being in an urban place. So one of our motivations was really to be able to ensure that when people come here, they don't feel like they're downtown in a city, that they feel like they're on the land in a remote place somewhere, that despite the busyness going around, that they have a place of peace they can come to. We created structures, teepees, bush camps, and really wanted to embody the presence, the feeling within these tents and spaces as if you were in your grandmother's cabin. The smells, the sights, the sounds, even the textures, all of those feelings are embodied within the experience when people come here. And bringing in that land component, ourselves as nature. So how can we embody that sense of being within a place, a sense of interconnectedness, where people are starting to put the pieces together and remember who we are? The Northern Lights bring in aspects of our ancestors and our connections, which is part of our sky world here. And everything that we do as a part of traditional healing is completely interconnected with ancestors and spirits in the work. It's just such a deep fundamental component of the work that we do here. I was taught by my elders, by my community, and by the land.
Hi, my name is Rassi Nashalik. I'm an elder for Arctic Indigenous Wellness Foundation for Inuit of the North.
My name is Blondin. I am the Elders Council, and I'm the director.
Sate, samaside, ninen, diriamane kani. Na zompigeti di kon na titi konte na zon de na klon pigeti de kasamasi dia.
Since we're part of Arctic Indigenous Wellness Foundation, we serve Inuit, Dene, and Métis. And I always start out with this. If there's a ceremony, I start out with kulak. I caught on to this when I was growing up. It was a heat source and to cook with and melt ice for drinking water. Survival was a big part of my culture. And this is so sacred for me. I like my fire very even. In this camp, we have to be balanced with ourselves.
What I look at myself to stay humble, to keep my mind, my spirit, my emotions in one tack, and to stay balanced at all times, every single day in my life.
Well, one of our elders that helped to envision this place, Elder Francois Paulette, often talks about a concept called Denechanya, which is essentially, our bodies being made up of spirit, which is built from the action trails that we leave behind. So our actions and our intentions create this path of dynamic balance and wellness for ourselves if we walk in a good way. The amount of wisdom that comes from the elders that work in this camp, it gives me so much strength to be able to just sit and listen to them. Rassi and Bessa have been absolutely fundamental in terms of my journey. It's the community of Dene peoples that have supported me on my journey. And for me, to be a good leader is really having the community lead themselves and acting as a servant and a support and a guide for community so that they can solve and deal with their own issues and problems themselves. Our job is not to put the solutions out, it's to create the conditions and the spaces so that people can come to those solutions themselves. Well, oftentimes it's through narratives and stories that don't necessarily tell you exactly the thing that you want to hear. It's often something that you have to figure out from the narratives that they share. And that can be hard sometimes for Western folks, where you expect direct answers sometimes to the questions that you pose. But you'll never hear that kind of answer from an elder. It's usually a story or a narrative or an example, and it's up to us as listeners to be able to start to put the pieces together ourselves of what that story or the narrative means for us in the context of our life. And that's very purposeful. It's a very purposeful way of answering questions, but also of sharing knowledge and wisdom.
At this camp, because it's a healing camp, and sometimes when we do our healing with our clients, ravens come also with their power. And so what they do is they come around a tent where the people are suffering, and sometimes they yell out something. And it's just to give inspiration for that person that's going through a hard time telling the story, so that the raven gives them a lift.
One of the most challenging things about working within these kinds of spaces is that you do have to deal with a lot of trauma, a lot of individual trauma, a lot of collective trauma. How do you be able to find strength within that? Part of our journey away from the residential school era. I'm the daughter of a residential school survivor. And for a lot of us, it was a matter of reconnecting to our traditions and to our ceremonies to remind us how we are as power people in our own way. Whenever I hear about intergenerational trauma, I always flip the dialogue to say intergenerational strength and intergenerational love, because we often talk about the perpetuation of trauma in our communities, but then we often forget that we can also perpetuate love and strength and healing going forward. And this is really what this camp is trying to do.
So if I walk down the street, you can hear auntie, 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 auntie all over the place, because they come to get me to give them hugs, to say how much I love them. That's an encouragement alone, because they don't get that.
I can't understate the amount of respect and honor that I personally feel for the elders that do difficult work every day, but continue to come with smiles on their faces every day to this camp. We laugh, we're funny, we make jokes, even in the most difficult circumstances, but there's a reason for that. There's a reason we're here after thousands of years. And finding reasons, moments to smile, whether or not it's literally forcing ourselves to look at a tree and to laugh. Literally. And, it seems so silly when you say that. But if you're with elders, that's what they do. They walk around, they smile, they look at things, just those simple things. Just embodying that, taking those moments in a day despite the difficulties that happen. It's the simple things that we forget about that sometimes are the most powerful. What gives me pride in the work that I do? One thing is this camp, for sure. The other thing is there's been a lot more space and openness at national and international levels for Indigenous voices coming. And I advocate for all Indigenous peoples. And I say that as a broad mandate because a lot of my work spans from the local to the national to the international level. I work here in the community, but I work with Indigenous communities in Kenya, in Uganda, in El Salvador, in Thailand, in many different places. So for me, it's about interconnecting peoples across the globe. And you know, the world is finally starting to turn to Indigenous peoples, recognizing that we are stewarding 80% of the remaining biodiversity, and there's a reason for that with our connectivities and our knowledges. And my hope is for our people that we will start to see more spaces of belonging as the world continues to go down a spiral that's not in a good way. And I truly, truly believe that our people are going to be the answer to that movement forward. Depending on where you live in the world right now, if you've been there for at least 2 to 3 months, you literally are 60% of the water, the rivers, the lakes around you, because 60% of your body is made of water. So here we live next to Great Slave Lake, which is Tucho or Tunede. So I am sitting here as an embodiment of the lake. We're literally the environment, we're the land, we're the waters around us, and that beauty, that courage, that strength is already inside of us. You just need to allow it to come forward. It's just that reminder, the reconnection, and you'll hear that a lot with elders talking, the revitalization, the reconnecting. Everything is already here. Everything that we need to know is within our body. It's just a matter of being able to connect those pieces again, remembering those narratives of who we are as people. One of my strongest motivations outside of the community is my 2 daughters, who are my legacy in some senses, and being able to pave a path that they can be strong and resilient Indigenous youth themselves, and be able to see themselves reflected in strength in the women that surround them, their aunties, their grandmas, the beautiful women that are able to showcase what's possible within the world. And it's the youth that absolutely give me hope, because they're not taking the old narratives anymore. They're starting to stand up for strength-based stories. And I think there's a lot of beauty and power in that we can look to, even as older generations, to these young women and young men and young two-spirit individuals who are just bringing back these traditions and cultures and really not taking anything else aside from that. So I see Indigenous leadership. I see Indigenous brilliance. I see Indigenous resilience. I see Indigenous power. All of those things is what I hope for the future.
Healing. Teegee.
Be strong. Sangina Cassidy.
Love.
I want to thank the Creator and the spirit world. And I'd like to thank the water, the sun, the animals, and all living things that the Creator has created. I say thank you for today and all our ancestors for helping us every single day and guiding us to be who we are today.